Oh, this? This is just a slate from the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. It's no big deal, although it does have some pretty cool signatures on it. We got Stan Lee, Sam Raimi, Toby Maguire, then we have Kirsten Dunst, Willem Dafoe, then we have visual effects supervisor John Dykstra, producer Ian Bryce, and finally director of photography Don Burgess. So yeah, this is a pretty cool thing to have. Alright, so this is my spoiler talk for Spider-Man No Way Home. That is an official spoiler warning. If you have not seen this movie yet, please do not watch this video. Then again, if the movie hasn't been spoiled for you already, I'm really impressed. But yeah, the spoilers I'm going to talk about in this video are completely going to ruin the experience for you if you have not seen the movie and you care about spoilers. So you have been warned. Alright, let's get started, because there's a lot to talk about in this 2.5 hour celebration of the cinematic history of Spider-Man, because that's absolutely what this movie is. So Spider-Man No Way Home picks up right where Far From Home left off in that mid-credits scene, and I actually predicted that the opening logos in this movie would have the audio from that mid-credits scene. And I was right. And so Peter grabs MJ and they swing off together. But really, the first big spoiler of the movie that completely blew everyone's minds comes within the first 10 minutes. And that is Charlie Cox showing up as Matt Murdock, who you may know as Daredevil. Yeah, that was one of the rumors circulating around the internet for a while. And since a situation like this happened in another Marvel thing very recently, we were like, what are the implications here? Is Daredevil officially back in the MCU? Are we gonna get a continuation of his story? I personally don't think so. I really think this was just meant to be a cameo. Doesn't mean Marvel can't prove me wrong though. But Matt Murdock is here to drop Peter Parker's legal charges, and then super fast reflexes, he catches the brick and Peter's like, how did you do that? And Matt's like, I'm a really good lawyer. That was really cool. And so now that the word is out that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, it was interesting to see how everyone who knew Peter reacted to this news. Like Flash Thompson, for example, he capitalized on this. I couldn't believe it. He had this whole hardcover book made, Flashpoint, My Life as Peter Parker's Best Friend. I was like, oh my god, how did he pull that off? I have no idea. But really, the big dream for Peter Parker and his friends in this movie, their main goal is to get into college. And they want to go to MIT because that was Tony Stark's alma mater, but because of this whole controversy thing, none of them get in. That was sad. Cause yeah, it was completely unfair. We all know that Spider-Man didn't do anything wrong. This all happened, in fact, this whole movie happens because Mysterio was an asshole. Yeah, thanks, Jake. And so Peter gets the idea to go to Doctor Strange, and actually we learn that Wong has become the new Sorcerer Supreme due to a technicality, cause like Peter, I thought Doctor Strange was the Sorcerer Supreme, but since he was blipped out of existence for 5 years, Wong, by default, became the new Sorcerer Supreme. So that's kind of funny. I wonder how that's going to play into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I guess we'll see. And when Doctor Strange brings up the runes of Kafkal, I think is what he said, Wong is like, that spell is very dangerous. It breaks the boundaries of known and unknown realities. But after some convincing, Wong is like, alright, just leave me out of this. Which is different than what we saw in the trailer. In the trailer, Wong is like, don't cast that spell, and Stephen Strange lies to him. Yeah, that's just different. In the actual movie, the spell happens with Wong's approval. I just find that interesting. And so while the spell is going on, we actually see Peter say, everyone who knew that I was Spider-Man before should still know. He says that, and we later learn that that was the key thing for the multiversal villains coming over. Everyone who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man in other universes has come to this one. Which should also mean that Mary Jane Watson, Kirsten Dunst should also be here, as well as both Harry Osborns and Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone. Although that would have been awkward with Andrew Garfield. It would have. But yeah, now we know the reason all these villains specifically came to this universe. I'm glad they gave that reason. And so we get to the big Doc Ock fight on the Alexander Hamilton Bridge. I love the fact that not only does Dr. Octopus come back, but so does his theme, his musical theme. Da, 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 da. I just loved hearing that again, man. And of course, that ain't the only musical motif from a previous Spider-Man franchise that comes back in this movie, but I'll get to those when I get to them. I did laugh at the point where Peter gains control over Ock's tentacles with the nanotechnology. He starts waving at him like, hey, how you doing? I'm in control now, buddy. But then the Green Goblin arrives with his musical theme. Da, 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 da. Except there's no fight there because Peter gets transported back to the dungeon, which at first, yeah, my whole audience was like, oh, that sucks. I wanted to see that fight. But it's okay though. Willem Dafoe ends up stealing this entire movie. Seriously, dude, wow. And the Goblin gets a new look too. He smashes the mask, which, alright, but the look he gets does end up being more accurate to his original design from the comics. He has the green armor, but on top of it, he has this purple tattered robe type thing. Yeah, that's pretty similar to his original design. I dig it. And so Peter, Ned, and MJ are tasked by Doctor Strange to go hunt down these multiverse men. And so Peter goes, and there was a rumor going around the internet, again, that his black suit in this movie is just his normal suit, but turned inside out. Yep. That's what it is. Still looks pretty cool though. And it was turned inside out because the outside part had green paint splattered on it. That was rude. But this is where we meet Sandman and Electro. And again, Electro comes back with his music. You hear that Hans Zimmer Electro theme for a brief second. That blah, blah, blah. I straight up cheered when that theme came on because it's just so amazing, no pun intended. But yeah, like I said in my spoiler-free review, Electro's personality is completely different in this movie than it was in TASM 2. In this movie, he acts more like Jamie Foxx's character from Baby Driver, really confident and a smart mouth. He's like, let me tell you something, I was whooping Spider-Man's ass. I was like, I don't think TASM 2 Electro would say it like that. I'm not complaining about the personality change, I'm just saying it's very noticeable. But one of my favorite action scenes in the movie is the Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange mirror dimension fight scene. Cause I mean, first of all, we haven't seen the mirror dimension since 2016, and I had all but forgotten how visually awesome it is, cause holy shit. But I just plain love how Peter Parker figures out that the mirror dimension is just geometry, and so he figures out how to trap Doctor Strange using math. I love the quote he says here. He's like, hey Strange, you know what's cooler than magic? Math! Now, I personally hate math as a subject. I couldn't stand it in school. But I just love that line so much because it is Spider-Man owning Doctor Strange with advanced math. Again, showing how much of a genius Peter Parker is. That was awesome. And so we go back to the dungeon, and instead of sending these villains back to their universes to die, we're gonna try curing them instead. Cause unlike Doctor Strange, Spider-Man has a heart. And of course, I love what Norman Osborn says here. He's like, I can help you. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself. We're using that old classic quote from Raimi's Spider-Man 1. There are actually a couple of old quotes that come back in this movie. Like when Ock first arrives, he's like, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand. I was like, bravo. And so yeah, they get to work creating cures for these villains. The first one to get cured is Doc Ock. And actually, this is really cool. When Doc Ock gets cured, he transfers the nanotechnology back to Peter Parker, and that's what makes the golden spider symbol on his suit. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And so then we're gonna start curing everyone else, but then the Goblin emerges. Peter senses it with his spider sense, which his spider sense is really cool in this movie. We saw that when he was in his astral form and Doctor Strange was trying to take the cube. We actually saw the lines above his head. I'm like, that is genius. That's a great way to put that original design from the comics in a movie. I loved that. But Peter spider senses the Goblin, and the Goblin's like, that's a neat trick. And dude, the Goblin is strong. I mean, when he's fighting with Peter and he takes Peter and slams him through 3 floors, I was like, shit, all right. You got the feeling in the original Spider-Man that Green Goblin and Spider-Man were of equal super strength. But in here, I feel like the Green Goblin is actually physically stronger than Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because he beats the shit out of him here. I mean, Peter's just punching him in the face and he's just laughing, ha ha ha. I was like, shit, dude, check out the Joker here. That was nuts. And then we get to one of the most emotional scenes in this movie. Yeah. Aunt May. She delivers the classic line, with great power there must also come great responsibility, which is actually the original quote from the original Amazing Fantasy comic back in the 60s. Yeah, for people thinking the line was misquoted again, no. This was actually the first time they got it right. So, boom. But yeah, then Aunt May dies. Because the Green Goblin threw a couple bombs and the building fell on her. And that really sucked. I do love how she went down fighting though. Like right before the Goblin threw the bombs, she had this thing in her hand. She was gonna use it as a weapon against the Goblin. I was like, dude, she's badass right here. Rest in peace, May Parker. You will be missed. Poor Happy, man. Then there's the scene where Peter Parker's in the rain. There's actually a really cool shot right here that to me looks straight out of a comic book. I could just see that being a splash page or something. It's just a beautiful shot. And so now we're about halfway through the movie. Ned and MJ are dealing with the loss, and they're like, all right, I wish we could see Peter. And Ned's like, oh shit, I have the sling ring. I can open portals now, apparently. Yeah, that magical ability that Ned Leeds has did really seem to come out of nowhere. I would be curious to see if that goes anywhere in the future, but for now, it does seem kind of strange. But of course, I can't complain about it too much because of what happens next. Yep, the biggest rumor about this movie is officially confirmed because we do call a Peter Parker, but right when we see him through the portal, I was like, holy shit! Yeah, of course my audience went nuts because it's Andrew Garfield! Andrew Garfield comes strolling in, he's like, I'm Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. And so Ned and MJ are like, all right, let's try again. Find Peter Parker. And then another portal opens, and out comes Toby Maguire. At that point, I was like, I've died and gone to heaven. Toby Maguire comes in. He looks a little odd to me. I've actually had this conversation with a couple of people, because yeah, he does look different from his appearance in his films, but people just told me, yeah, he's just older. He's in his 40s, he's gonna look different, so alright. Again, I can't complain too much. It's like Luke Skywalker showing up at the end of Mandalorian Season 2. Did he look different? Yeah, that doesn't change the fact that the scene is absolutely awesome, because it's something I never thought I would ever see in a movie in my life. We have the two returning cinematic Spider-Mans, Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield, along with their musical themes that also come back. Yeah, James Horner's theme from The Amazing Spider-Man. And my favorite, Danny Elfman's theme from the Raimi Spider-Man. Oh my god, just hearing that coming from theater speakers again for the first time since 2007, I truly felt like a kid again. It was such a gift. And so the first scene our three webheads share together, they're sharing their grief. I mean, first of all, I love that shot where they're silhouetted on the building. That was cool. But yeah, they come down and Tom Holland's Spider-Man is still in grief over Aunt May, understandably. And Andrew Garfield's like, yeah, well, I lost my girlfriend, Gwen Stacy. And Toby's like, I lost my Uncle Ben. They share the moment where they were told with great power comes great responsibility. I love it. When Tom starts the quote, you see Toby's eyes just light up. And then he finishes the quote. I was like, dude, so well written. And then we have the three of them just being science dorks together. This is so good. I love the fact that we get a solid hour with Toby and Andrew. They're not just there for the cameo or for the big fight at the end and that's it. No, we get some good quality time with them. I love that. Yeah, they are actually supporting characters. And so to see them all working together, being scientists together, Andrew Garfield in a lab coat. Also, of course, you had to have that classic joke in there where Ned's like, hey, Peter, and all three of them are like, yeah? My audience clapped at that because yeah, that is such a cliche joke, but you can't not have it in this movie.
It's too great an opportunity to pass.
Plus, my second time watching it, I noticed that they're all pointing at each other, which, yeah, that's totally the meme. That's a great touch. I mean, there are so many Spider-Man memes out there, and this movie had to showcase a couple of them. The something of a scientist line. The one I felt should have been in this movie that was not was pizza time. Come on, I would have loved to have seen them all eating pizza together. Oh well. And so now we get to the Statue of Liberty, and this is where we have my absolute favorite scene in this movie. And it's where all three Spider-Men are just hanging out and talking. They're talking about Toby's web situation, which is another recurring joke that's been around for years. Yeah, if Toby really had the powers of a spider, the webs wouldn't come out of his wrists, they would probably come out of his ass. And so Tom asked the question, do they just come out of your wrist, or do they come out of anywhere else? Yeah, we cracked up at that, it was hilarious. They're talking about having a web block, and Toby's like, yeah, I did have a web block once. It was an existential crisis thing I was going through. Of course, referencing Spider-Man 2. That was great. And they're talking about the villains they fought, and Andrew Garfield's like, I've never fought an alien before. I'm lame. And then Toby's like, you're amazing. Can you say that? You're amazing. I was like, alright, I get it, because he's the amazing Spider-Man. I did love that joke, but it was kind of drilled in a little too much, I think. And so then the villains arrive, Sandman, Electro, the Lizard, and we have our big fight with them. Dude, there are so many cool moments in this fight. I mean, just seeing Sam Raimi's Spider-Man back in his suit on the big screen, again, that's something I never thought I would ever see again in my life. I do wish we'd gotten a good shot of him in his suit, just, you know, a good body shot, but whatever, it was still great to see him. And at first, these three Spider-Men aren't really working well together because Toby and Andrew don't have experience being on a team. I like when Tom was like, I've been on a team before. I was on the Avengers. And Toby's like, you're on the Avengers? That's great. What is that? I like the fact that, yeah, neither Toby nor Andrew have heard of the Avengers. Their universes, their movie franchises didn't have Avengers. Although in Spider-Man 2, J. Jonah Jameson did mention a Doctor Strange. And so the three Spider-Men get a plan together, and oh my god, this next bit, where the three Spider-Men are running, they jump off, and they all swing together. I was like, oh my god. And then they all land in epic poses. Toby, Andrew, Tom, boom. I was like, yes. All of my yes. That was just so nerdgasmic right there. Yeah, all of us Spider-Man nerds, we all needed a towel after that. It's true. And the fight is really cool. Because really, we are working to cure these villains. Which is actually kind of funny. I mean, Toby has this little mini super collider he cures the Sandman with. I was like, okay, that's convenient. Tom cures the Lizard with the antidote thing from the Amazing Spider-Man 1. And then Doc Ock comes back to cure Electro. And this is a really cool Easter egg right here. When Electro and Andrew are talking, and Electro's like, you're from Queens, you help the poor. I thought you'd be black. And Andrew's like, I'm sorry. And Electro's like, it's okay. There's probably a black Spider-Man out there somewhere. Of course, referencing Miles Morales, who I'm pretty sure at this point that they are somehow going to bring into the MCU someday. If for nothing else, that seed was still planted in Spider-Man Homecoming. Yeah, by Donald Glover, Aaron Davis. But then the Green Goblin comes back, and he blows up that cube thing, the Machina de Cadavis, which unleashes the spell, which opens up the multiverse. And MJ... okay, yes. MJ is falling and Tom goes after her, but then he's snatched up by the goblin. All of us in the audience were like, come on, Andrew, do it. You see Andrew Garfield jump after her and he catches her. We're all like, yes, redemption. You even see on his face after he catches her, he's tearing up. I was like, oh man, all the feels right there. That was so emotional. That was a genius moment. That's gotta be another one of my favorite moments in this movie, because it was, say it with me now, amazing. And don't you forget it. And so we come down to the final fight, Tom Holland, Peter Parker versus the Green Goblin. And dude, you can just see all the rage on Peter Parker's face. I love this because this is a really dark scene. Because Peter Parker just goes apeshit. He starts beating the shit out of Green Goblin and he was gonna kill him. He takes the glider and he is going to stab him with it. You see him lowering it and I was like, holy shit. He is actually gonna do it. And then he's stopped by Toby Maguire. And he is snapped out of it. But for a brief moment there, I was like, dude, that was brutal. Seriously, big props to this movie for going there. For taking that extra step. And then Toby gets pointlessly stabbed in the back. Seriously, I mean, at first we were like, oh shit, is Toby gonna die? We can't have that happen. This movie has no right to kill off Toby's Spider-Man. But thankfully enough, he did survive that. To which I was like, what was even the point of stabbing him then? I don't know. But yeah, then Goblin is cured. And Norman Osborn comes back. So alright, all the villains are better now. But since the Goblin blew up that cube, the multiverse is still colliding. We actually see a few Spider-Man villains, or at least the shapes of a few Spider-Man villains in there. Yeah, we see Kraven, Scorpion, we see Rhino. I heard that Morbius is also in there somewhere, but Kraven, Scorpion, and Rhino are the only ones that I could see. And so Tom Peters like, all right, Strange, send everyone back. And this time it's okay if the entire world forgets about Peter Parker. Not just forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but forget about Peter Parker's existence at all. To which I was like, no. Really? That's fucking sad. He says goodbye to Toby and Andrew. They all share a hug. We clapped at that. Bye, Toby and Andrew. It was a real gift seeing you again. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, John Watts, and Sony and Marvel. But then Peter has to say goodbye to his friends, and this is heartbreaking too, because they're all crying. Peter and Ned do that secret handshake thing. MJ tells Peter she loves him. Yeah, it's really sad stuff. I didn't cry or tear up, but I really wanted to. So now we have the epilogue of the movie, and we see that now Ned and MJ have been accepted at MIT, which, yeah, great for them. Victory! And Peter goes up to MJ in the shop, all ready to try to restore her memory, but after seeing the band-aid on her forehead, he decides against it. And for now, just to keep them safe, he's gonna leave them alone. Which, yeah, that is kind of sad, because I love Peter and MJ together as a couple. Although MJ does still have the Black Dahlia necklace. I just wanted Peter to be like, hey, where'd you get that necklace from? I wonder what her answer would have been. And even after Peter leaves, MJ has this look on her face like, like a he's seen familiar kind of look on her face. So who knows, maybe she and Ned will come back in Spider-Man 4, which is officially confirmed to be in development, by the way. And so now Peter Parker is truly on his own. He moves into an apartment in the city, and he has a brand new suit, which, oh my god, I love this design of the suit, because this is a classic Spider-Man suit with the bright blue. I've heard a couple people don't like the bright blue. I love it, because it's just so vibrant. And the spider symbol looks like a classic Raimi Spider-Man symbol. I love that too. And as he's swinging over Rockefeller Center, you realize that this really is a true origin story for Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man. Yeah, like I said, this is a coming-of-age story. Starting in Captain America Civil War, Peter Parker has been growing throughout every movie he's been in, so now we're at the point where he has fully matured into Spider-Man. He's got no fancy schmancy tech, just a regular classic Spidey suit, and a great responsibility. Roll credits. God, what a great fucking movie. And then of course we have the mid-credits scene with Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock, which, alright. He's at a bar in Mexico going off of the mid-credits scene in Venom Let There Be Carnage, but then he gets transported back to his universe, to which I was like, what was even the point of any of that then? Oh, well, we see a little bit of the symbiote was left behind. Somehow. Not sure how that happened. But then I was like, okay, is that what Spider-Man 4 is gonna be? They're gonna try the symbiote story again? If that does end up being the case, then I hope they know what they're doing and I hope they do it right. I guess we'll see. And I am wondering what the implications are for the Venom Sony cinematic universe, with Morbius coming out in a month and a half. I mean, just the fact that the villains were sent back to their timelines, but they were cured, which, yeah, that does mean that their timelines are gonna be fucked up. There are implications there too. We might get some of the fallout from that in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Madness, which after the credits, our post-credits scene is not a scene at all. It's actually a little trailer for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Which, honestly, for this, I feel like I could do its own video on that, but I think I'm just gonna wait for an official trailer release. But in a nutshell, yeah, the movie looks completely just, oh my god. It looks nuts, although I do hope that wasn't the What If Doctor Strange Supreme at the end there. I don't know. But yeah, Scarlet Witch, America Chavez, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness looks awesome. Can't wait. So, in conclusion, Spider-Man No Way Home, yes, it is a celebration of Spider-Man's cinematic history, and it really touched a place in my heart. It really means a lot to me that they brought Andrew and Toby back, because I love movies so much, and one of the movies that shaped my childhood and ultimately who I am today was the original Spider-Man. It was the very first superhero movie I ever saw, I think, in my life. It was the first big PG-13 action movie I ever saw in the theater. I was 6 years old. So seeing Spider-Man for the first time as a little kid just opened my eyes to the wonder that is superhero movies. Like, if I had core memories like Inside Out, seeing Spider-Man for the first time as a kid would be one of them. So seeing Toby Maguire back as Peter Parker in Spider-Man in a new movie, along with everyone else, Andrew Garfield, Sandman, Doc Ock, Electro, Green Goblin, the Lizard even, this movie is a true love letter to the cinematic history of Spider-Man. And you know what? So is this video. Spider-Man means so much to me, and you know what? I think Spider-Man No Way Home now has to be one of my favorite Spider-Man movies ever made. Because it was more than fan service, it was a real coming-of-age story that just did everything right. And so I can't thank everyone who was involved enough. This movie is truly a gift. So for my question, here's what I will ask you. Who is your favorite Spider-Man? Toby Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland, Shameik Moore? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I still have some Christmas gifts to wrap up, so I'm gonna get on that. After I edit and upload this video, of course. Peace!